All right, I know. The Eclipse event has already passed us. It's old news. So why in the world am I making a video about the 2024 Eclipse? Well, for starters, it was a very hot and popular event, maybe the biggest trend or event in the POD space in the past year or two. But more than that, it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for me to share my strategy, my methodology, and even the exact designs I use to find success. Typically, I don't share my designs. Most print-on-demand sellers don't for fear of copycats. And that's always tough because I've been in the position of someone new where seeing a design and a listing and the overall strategy can really tie it all together. So in this video, we're going to look at my 2024 Eclipse strategy, including my designs, my sales, my ad spending, and even a few things that I wish I had done differently. Think of this video like a miniature case study where you could take the same strategies and ideas that I used for the Eclipse niche and apply them to other upcoming trends or events to grow and enhance your print-on-demand portfolio. I think you'll see that this is not rocket science, right? It's not groundbreaking. It's really about timing, testing, and finding a methodology that works for you. Let's get into it. All right, so first, let me set the stage a little bit here for my thought process when entering into this niche. Now, if you've watched my videos in the past, you know that I love evergreens. I would say about 80 to 90% of all of my designs are in evergreens. I rarely chase the trends, but I knew this Eclipse trend or this Eclipse niche had some big potential. So I decided to create 30 base designs, okay? These base designs, I'm going to explain how I'm going to basically scale those out, but they were broken down basically with 10 animal style designs, right? Eclipse animals, 10 of that kind of standard style that's more of a futuristic or sci-fi space related style, and then another 10 that were really focused on kind of a more colorful, a boho, a floral style, okay? Now, underneath that, right, I wanted to niche down. And how was I going to niche down? Well, I identified a couple different areas. One was focusing on states. If you guys are familiar with the Eclipse path, it crossed over, I think, around 13 or 14 states. Secondly, I can sub-niche even further, and I'm going to focus in on cities. So I actually looked at the map of the Eclipse path and identified about 25 or 26 major cities that it was going to go directly over, okay? And then thirdly is that I wanted to focus some on feminine designs. When I first looked at the Eclipse niche and these designs, a lot of them seemed very masculine to me, and I thought, what about a girly design, right? So I thought I could use that as an opportunity to try and niche down. My pricing or marketing strategy was I was going to price everything at $19.99 or equivalent. So, $19.99 for standard shirts. I think around like $34.99 for hoodies and things like that. I was going to run some ads. I was going to start off just running some bulk auto campaigns. And then any of my top performing designs, I was going to run some manual campaigns on. All right, so with those 30 base designs, how am I going to scale them out? How am I going to extend my reach so I have a better chance of making sales? Well, here on the screen, you can see there's a couple different ways, and I'm going to try and break this down so it makes sense. So I started with a base template design, okay? One design. Let's just take one of those 30 that I talked about in the previous slide. And I could then create 13 variations by putting a different state on each design. I could take it another step further and put that same one design onto 26 different cities, okay? I could then take it even further because I could push that design on those different states or cities to the different apparel types, standard shirt, tank top, long sleeve, right? To 8 different apparel types. And then I could take all of that and double it again by creating a color version for a black or dark color apparel and creating a lighter version for a white or light colored apparel. What that turned out to be was over 8,000 individual products. If you compound all of those base designs, multiplied out by all the different variations of states and cities, multiplied out by the different apparel types, and then a black version and a white version, I had over 8,000 products total on the Amazon marketplaces. Now, that's a lot, but it really wasn't that hard to do once you come up with that base template. And I'll touch more on that here in another segment. But uploads, all right, let's talk about my uploads. My very first uploads into the Eclipse niche was on February 1st, about 60 days before the event. I continued uploads throughout February because I was getting designs back, over the course of maybe the first couple weeks of February. and I uploaded them to apparel only. I didn't push them to any pop sockets, phone cases, pillowcases, or anything like that. I focused just on apparel because it's a little bit easier when checking trademarks and kind of, my flow and system. I did not push it to any Raglan t-shirts, and I did not translate it or push it to any of the foreign markets. It was in English for the USA and UK markets only. All right, now let's take a look at some actual designs. I think that's going to tie it in better so you guys can visually see what I'm talking about when I'm scaling these designs and how I'm doing it. So I'm here in Pretty Merch. I'm just going to go and do a filter by year to date for United States, right? This should pull up all the shirts that I've sold year to date. And then I'm going to scroll right down here, okay, and I'm going to type in Eclipse, okay? Now when I type in Eclipse, what that's going to do is it's going to filter out any of my shirts that have sold that have the word Eclipse in the title. So this should be everything, all right? And now I'm going to do what people normally never do and remove the blur, all right? So now we can take a look here. And I'm going to scroll through these and we'll look at a couple, but I've got it sorted right now by sales. So this is my best-selling design and they're decreasing. But I want to show you guys just kind of the scale and how many were sold by using this compounding option by scaling it out to different states and different apparel types and even different cities. So you can see here hundreds, a lot of different designs. Many of them only sold once or twice, 3 times, but these add up. I mean, each of these is $7, $7, $6, $5, and there's quite a few on here. Now, this really wasn't a lot of work because once I came up with those base templates, my designers were able to scale them out based on the scaling criteria I gave them, in this case, the state and the cities. And then, of course, we worked together to create this design. So let me give you guys an example. This one here, all right, Eclipse 2024 Waco, Texas shirt. This falls into that category I talked about at the beginning, those 10 shirts that were kind of more of a floral, boho, feminine focus. So it simply says Eclipse with the date at the top. It has the state logo in the middle. It has the city and then the state on the bottom, all right? So that was our base template, and we scaled it out. And look, here's Waco, Texas. Here's Dallas, Texas. Austin, Texas. Buffalo, New York. Cleveland, Ohio, right? Austin, Texas again. Arkansas. And you can see there's just tons of these as you go through. Maybe some of them are on a V-neck shirt, like here. Maybe some of them are on a standard shirt, like here. Here's a Bloomington, Indiana, right? Once I started to see success with that style design, I went in and created some similar ones. I doubled down on what works. So here's another version. This is a white version, right? And it's a little bit different, has a little bit different flowers, but it's the same idea in general. Here's another one, right? It's a colorful design. Here's another one. It's again, appealing to that someone who wants a really loud and proud, maybe a feminine or floral, a hippie kind of style design. That's where I was having success. I sold some other traditional designs as well, but you can see here by looking at these, a lot of mine, like this is another boho style design. This one here was kind of a kids or younger, kind of a funny play. Here's another one. I'm using mushrooms, that hippie font and style, right? Had some great success with that one. Let's see, what else do we got? This one I didn't think would do well. It's kind of like the Mars, right? It's kind of like that sci-fi, right? Total solar eclipse, Oswego, New York, and I just scaled this out. Here's one for Millinocket, Maine. There probably wasn't a lot of Millinocket, Maine solar eclipse shirts up. I don't know what the competition is for that, but when I scaled all these out, I just shot all those designs out into a broad area. And these things add up over time. So we'll take a look maybe at a couple other designs here. I'll show you guys a couple other ones that I liked. This is one that I really liked. This was one of my favorites. Didn't sell a lot, but sold a few times, right? It's taking that astronaut. He's kind of sitting in that hippie position, right? And it says Solar Eclipse, Buffalo, New York. And there on the chest, it shows the actual date of the solar eclipse. I really like that one. Here's one that I did that kind of tapped into some of the alien, right? The people who see these solar eclipses as some kind of celestial event with a deeper meaning, sold a few of those. But where I had success was first niching down to the state, then to the city, and then the style of design really focused on a bright, colorful, again, kind of like a floral or feminine focused design. Here's one, Carbondale, Illinois. I didn't even know there was a Carbondale, Illinois until I did this, but we sold a couple of those, right? So the idea here is creating those base templates and scaling them out. All right, what about expenses? Well, if you've watched my channel before, you've heard me talk about that I outsource most of my designs. I use freelance graphic designers. I can do some basic stuff myself, but I really leave that to the people who are much more talented, and I pay them per design. So I typically pay anywhere between $4 and $6 per design. Obviously, that varies a little bit depending on the design complexity. I also usually pay an additional fee to scale them out. So I pay $4 to $6 for a base design, and then if I want that scaled out to 20 or 30 variations, we agree upon a rate, usually around $10 or so. So for all of these designs that I've just shared with you and that we've talked about, I paid about $240 to my designers, okay? Now, I do run ads, right? I have just the regular Amazon ads console, and I do run ads, and I ran a couple different ad campaigns. I started with a bulk ad campaign on bulk auto campaign, and then broke it out to a smaller auto campaign and spent about $542 total. That left me with an ACoS of 27.93%. That's high. That's probably not quite profitable on those specific ad dollars spent. It's much higher than I like. I don't think the ads were really a success. I think they could have helped, but a lot of my units that sold organically. And I should have known that with such a big event in a short time window, the ad prices, the bids that you're going to have to pay is always going to go up because everybody's trying to get their designs seen on the first page. So they're bidding high because there's no sense in running ads for Eclipse shirts after the eclipse has passed. Or is there? Anyway, so what does that leave us? Let me move this here so we can see. So we sold approximately 500 units total of Eclipse shirts. Now, it's kind of hard to get an exact number on that because Productor Chrome extension is having some issues. The Pretty Merch Chrome extension was having like issues when I'm trying to like add it up. So I just kind of manually estimated, and it's around 500. That number's going to change. I've already sold probably 6 Eclipse shirts today, and the Eclipse was a couple days ago. So it's going to hopefully go up. Total royalties, again, added up the total royalties, and I'm looking at about $2,500 I've earned off the Eclipse niche. Design expense, $240, like we just talked about. Ad expense, $542. That leaves me with a total profit or net profit for this niche, this case study, of about $1,700. Is that groundbreaking, crazy, viral money? No, absolutely not. It's really not, and there's people that had much more success. But I think if you consider how, I just approached this niche, I spent a couple days of my work week working with the designers, doing some research, uploading the designs, running the ads. It was still a very profitable enterprise. And really the money doesn't matter. What I'm trying to show you guys is this is how I approach a niche or an evergreen topic or whatever it is that I'm trying to pursue. You've got to think about your strategy. And the really, really successful print-on-demand sellers just do this compounded over and over and over again. So what should I have done differently, and what are the takeaways for you so that you can apply these strategies for the next trend, event, or even evergreen niche? Well, first of all, I should have entered the niche earlier. I mentioned my first upload was around February 1st, 60 days before the event. I started getting sales right away, which tells me there was already demand. Ideally, I should have been up like 90 days, maybe even 120 days before the event. And some people take it even further and have had designs up for the 2024 Eclipse ever since the last Eclipse, I think in 2018. Next thing I should have done is double down on successful styles. I did that to some degree, but now in hindsight, after looking at all of my designs and after the event has passed, I can really see which ones are successful. In real time, sometimes that's harder. So I should have paid closer attention. I should have really kind of rolled the dice and doubled down on those successful designs because I clearly had a trend or a style that was working well. And I should have diversified into more cities and locations. This was probably the biggest mistake I made. I thought on that Eclipse path that mostly people within the path would be buying shirts. But this event was so big, there was people from all over the country having Eclipse parties and Eclipse watch parties and traveling from their state to new states. I think you could have expanded well beyond the major cities or states in the path and really still had some great success. And the last thing that I should have done is just repurposed my designs further. So I could have went back to my designer and said, hey, I really like this style of design. It seems to be working well. Find me another way to create a variation. Maybe this time I want to use more pastel colors, or this time I want to use more tropical colors. But just repurposing and doubling down on those successful designs and styles. I should have done that earlier, and I should have got it started sooner. So the takeaways for you, for someone watching this that wants to duplicate this type of success. First is you've got to niche down. You'll notice I don't think I had a single shirt that sold that just said Solar Eclipse in the date. Those are the big viral ones. If you got on page one with just a general Solar Eclipse shirt, you probably made a ton of money. I didn't even try for it. I niched down from the beginning. Next thing is you need to get an early start, right? I said I did 60 days, should have been more like 90 or 120. Third thing you need to do is find ways to scale so that you can gain more reach for less cost or less time. So whenever you're first creating that design, be thinking already about how you can scale it. When I first started print on demand, I did not think in that frame of mind. I was in the smaller tiers, I was new. But now, every time I create a design, I think to myself, how can I repurpose this to make it 10x or 100x or 1,000x variations and styles? And the last thing I have on here is don't overlook white apparel-based designs. Primarily designed for dark apparel shirts, black, navy, heather gray, and so do most people in print on demand. But in this case, I repurposed a lot of those and changed the color patterns so that they would pop and show on a white shirt. And I had some great success. Don't overlook that. If you have the slots, that's one easy way to kind of double your visibility. And the last thing is just rinse and repeat for any trend or niche. And what I mean by that is, again, this is just one smaller case study of the 2024 eclipse. Take this same method, strategy, find a way so that it works for your system or your workflow, and rinse it and repeat. Do it for the eclipse niche, do it for the birthday niche, do it for dogs, for cats, for, hobbies, occupations, funny shirts, whatever the case may be. It's just constantly rinsing and repeating what works so that you can expand and grow your portfolio into a steady stream of income. If you like this kind of content, consider subscribing to my Side Hustle newsletter. I send out a weekly email all about print on demand and the other side hustles that I'm participating in. I cover my earnings reports, POD niche reveals, I talk about ads, graphics, promotions, anything related to making money online and being self-employed. There's a link below down in the description, and my current subscribers will have already known we talked about the eclipse niche months ago. All right, guys, I hope with the information in this video, I have earned your like. Perhaps even hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications if you want to follow more of this type of content from me. In the meantime, thank you so much for watching. I'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment and say hi, or if you have a question or you're unclear about something, drop a comment below and I'll respond. Wishing you guys the best of luck, and thank you again for watching. Later.